Hi everybody, I am Saul Shapiro. I'm the Vice President of Sales for EMI Jazz and Classics, which encompasses a couple of different labels, the Blue Note Records, Angel Records, and Manhattan Records. Basically, I run the sales department, which consists of me and three other regional salespeople that are out in the field in Los Angeles, in New York, and in Chicago. And we are the folks that basically get records into record stores. Once a record is done, recorded, we figure out when we're going to put a record out, when we're going to release it to consumers. My job and and my staff's job is to basically get on the phone with the buyers of major chains and start talking about the record and letting them know about the record, doing presentations, playing the music, and really doing retail marketing is what I kind of like to call it. You just don't easily just throw a record in the stores and it sells. Basically, there's a lot of negotiation that goes on with buyers and the record companies. And what we do is make sure that when a consumer goes into a record store, we negotiate the positioning of the record in the store. We make sure it's on an end cap when you walk into the store, in the front of the store. We make sure that it's on a listening station. We make sure that it's on sale. We make sure that it's advertised in local papers or national circulars. And we all pretty much negotiate all that positioning in a store. And unfortunately, we pay for it too. We work with a distribution company, EMI Distribution. So there are a lot of sales reps that are out in the field. Basically, we give them the tools to go out and also help sell our records to those stores. Basically, we work very closely with everybody in the other departments here at Blue Note. Well, they're putting the plan together on marketing and promotion, how it's going to radio, how it's going to the press, how it's being presented. We have to do the same thing to retail. Make sure the record is presented to the buyers, kind of get them excited about it and give them a reason to carry any particular record in their stores. In any 1 week, a buyer for a major chain like Tower Records or Virgin Records or even Best Buy, they probably get about 10,000 records a week that they have to decide whether they want to carry or not. So it's really up to the sales department to make sure that we do a good job and give them a reason why they need to carry something coming out on Blue Note or Angel or on Manhattan Records. A lot of those plans are put together here in the office with marketing, with promotion, but we want to make sure the records are there. So when you're going into a store, you see it, and you're called to make a purchase. I started out, I was a drummer, I was a musician, and I went to Berklee College of Music for 2.5 years. I thought I wanted to play drums and for a living, and in between the first and second year, I got a job as an intern working for Arista Records. My first job there really had nothing to do with music. I worked in the HR department, filling out benefit forms and stuff. But I got to meet a lot of people at Arista Records, and one of the people I met was Lou Mann and Lauren Moran, who were the head of sales, and vice president of sales, and for Arista. And I kind of switched over to working for them, just running little errands and just getting a feel of the department, working in the advertising department, which was part of the sales department. And I just really enjoyed that, went back to school, and my third year they actually called me and asked me if I wanted to leave school and take a job in the record business. I would never ever recommend that today, and actually probably nobody would ever, no company would have probably ever do that today. This is in the mid 80s. But I was kind of leaning away from a performance degree, and I decided I should really take the shot, and I did, and it was a blessing. And I worked at Arista for about 5 years in various departments, but mostly in the sales department. Actually, after about a year in New York, they moved me to Minneapolis, and I was a regional sales manager in Minneapolis. Worked with a lot of local accounts in the Midwest, did a lot of marketing, retail marketing with a lot of accounts, making sure we had records in the stores, posters in the stores, enter to win, contests, in-store play stuff. And did that for Arista for a couple of years. Was in Minneapolis, went to Chicago. Then I got a job at Windham Hill Records. I was a regional sales manager for Windham Hill for the whole Midwestern region. That lasted about 8 months. Fast forward, I was in New York for EMI Records, and unfortunately I had lost my job a couple of times within a year. Went through a couple of companies that I took a chance with, and they kind of went out of business after 3 or 4 months, and ended up in New York for EMI Records. A lot of downsizing once again. After about 6 months, maybe less than that, I lost my job, and I had known their general manager, Tom Everett, from working in Minneapolis, and at that time he was the head of sales for Blue Note here in New York. And I had kept in touch with Tom, and Tom was in Los Angeles, and he was moving to New York, and he needed somebody to fill his job in Los Angeles for Blue Note. And I made a commitment right there that I'd move to LA because my first love was always jazz. As a matter of fact, one year at Berkeley College of Music, Bruce Lundvall had spoke at one of the graduation ceremonies that I went to. And I remember saying I really would love to work for that guy at one point in my life. And being a jazz fan, and I just remember everybody in 1986, 1987 talking about Blue Note, because Blue Note had just started up again. And so we were all just, talking about Blue Note and listening to all the new records and the reissues that Blue Note was coming out. So, 5, 6 years later, I had the opportunity to work with this label and with this guy, this legend. So I gladly moved to Los Angeles and started work at Blue Note Records in it was 92, May of 92. And I'm still here. And the label has grown tremendously over the last 13 years, and it's been fun and frustrating, but the greatest thing is I work with this legendary guy who loves music, and certainly everybody in this office has that passion, and I think we kind of bring that to what we do on a daily basis. So. For the ones that are just getting started, getting started in school and looking for a career in this business, it's a very different business than it was when I started. You have to be educated. The technology in the record business is changing by the moment. You have to be really up on the technology. And there are opportunities in every city and in every school to really get involved with the music programs there, and with labels. there are schools that are bringing in bands for concerts. There are labels and companies that are out recruiting what we call street teams. Um, Kids that want to be in the business, have a love for music, and they want to go out and they want to help promote bands and concerts in their local area, at their local school. And you know, that's probably the best way to start getting involved, is to look for those companies and get with those labels and say, if there's a band that you like, find out what label they're on, and look on the band's website and join their fan club. So many bands, want to attract fans to help spread the word. I'm not talking, bands that are established, but new bands that are maybe they're touring, maybe they just got a label deal. They want to recruit more fans, and the way to do that is to get a fan that already exists to kind of help spread the word. And you can do that. And you can help bring those bands to your school, and you can really get involved with the label, and labels will be more than happy to, get students and fans in a certain area materials to pass out at schools. Whether it's posters or postcards or samplers or all the stuff that we make specifically for that reason, just to spread the word of mouth, because that is the most powerful thing when you're trying to, be a successful band in this industry, or singer, and that's a way to get a really, it's a great way to understand how labels work and how labels drive marketing of a band, because it starts small. It starts in an area and then it grows from there. And for someone who is just getting out of school and getting into this business, there are so many other options than just working for a record label, and I think you need to look at those options. Get involved with management companies and booking agents. Everywhere where music exists is just so much beyond than just a record label, and you can get that experience. Sometimes you just got to start out as an intern, and you got to pay your dues there. But some of our best interns who worked for nothing for months or a year or so ended up being executives within this company, and you'll find that throughout every major label and throughout the record business. But hang out at shows and go to music conventions, and it's all networking. It's all about who you know. A lot of it is about who you know. So you really got to put yourself out there, and in many different levels, not just the record label. There's, the online sites and the clubs. That music lives everywhere outside of, in a lot of other places outside of just a record label. So that would be my best advice.